Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Sweet Talks. I'm your host, Pulse, and it is with my great pleasure I can introduce you our first guest, Rizzle. Rizzle, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. If you could just give us a little information about who you are and what you do.
Sure, man. Appreciate you guys having me. It's fun to be the first to do things and be on the pilot episode and everything. Man, I've been in the space since like the very beginning of the NFT scene and in crypto for a very long time, since like 2012, 2013. So I had been in crypto for a very long time, but didn't really find like the niche that I was extremely passionate about until NFTs came around. And that was like a big, I don't know, I bounced around from a lot of different communities and felt like so many of them were like really toxic and shilly and full of like, scammers and people just trying to like, dump their stuff on everything. And when
Right.
NFTs came along and like there was this huge influx of like artists and creators entering the space who weren't all about that, it was like extremely refreshing to me personally, because I believe in crypto like as a long-term solution for a lot of things, and felt like we just needed like the right people involved in it to like sort of give it the right push in that direction, so it's not all about like just people just trying to make money and follow one coin to another type of thing. So fell deep into the NFT rabbit hole, man. I have been a part of some like significant projects within the space. I have my hand in like a whole lot of things at once, but I'm full-time like NFTs and crypto now, man. This is like a fun hobby turned like job, or I guess you could call it like weird thing that I do on the regular now, man. So happy to get into it with you, or whatever you guys would like to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things I'd like to talk about is you co-founding NFT 42. Like we spoke about off camera, I'm pretty new to the Web3 scene as well. But I've been told that it's a very prolific and innovative NFT studio that was, historic of the digitally verifiable ownership contract. So if you just give us a little background of that, that would be wonderful.
Sure, man. I was Jim sort of this was his brainchild, and I was the original co-founder with Jim to launch NFT 42, and we shortly brought on Nate Alex and a host of other like all-stars now at this point in the scene. But in the very beginning, Jim sort of had this concept of avastars and putting all of the metadata on chain, with the theory that like this is the way NFTs should be created by default, not like relying on a third-party system to like host part of the data and everything.
Right.
And so that made a lot of sense to me. And so I bothered Jim for a while, and I was like, dude, I get it, man. I like, know where you're going with this thing. I believe in the, direction of the narrative that you're pushing with like the on-chain NFTs. And so we started working together, and then through NFT 42, like a whole lot of other things were born as well. The Token Smart community, which I like largely spearheaded, is a pretty prolific community within the space that also housed for a very long time the WIP Meetup, which is a virtual event that I co-host and founded with a buddy of mine named Matt. NFT 42 also produced the Meta Olympics, which was like this crazy, like 3-month long, like cross metaverse competition where we
Wow.
distributed all these like cool prizes, NFT prizes, crypto prizes, tokens, and that kind of thing for the competitors. Nameless is like the big thing that really took off for NFT 42 in the past like year or so. It's started out as like a minting platform and is now pivoted to becoming like an API, which is not my area of expertise, to be honest with you. I don't speak like a ton of developer, but that received significant funding from venture capitalists and everything, and has been like largely the direction NFT 42 has gone. I actually left the company maybe like 8 months or so ago, just because my passion is more in like the community development and like weirdness and like just doing like strange experimental things with the technology. And NFT 42 is sort of going this corporate route with the API and with all the funding that it received. And so
Right.
everyone parted ways amicably, and now I'm just sort of out here doing weird stuff, sitting here with you, man.
In these rooms, right?
Yeah, exactly. The room is cool.
You talked a little bit about the WIP meetup. If you can give me some more information about that and what it entails.
Yeah, man. So that's been going on for it's a weekly virtual meetup that's been going on for over 2 years now. My buddy Matt and I created it, and now we have a crew of about 13 people who work towards this production each week. It's about an hour and a half or 2 hours long every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And it started off we would just have like a few presenters each week. It was like a very small crowd, and there's like almost nothing going on in the NFT scene. So it was like whoever's doing a thing, let's hang out and talk about it together, basically. And we
Where is
meet.
it?
We try. Go ahead.
I was going to say, where is it hosted? What kind of which metaverse?
uh Different location every week, man. That's one of the things like people show up for. Sometimes we have like a location sponsor, but we try to mix it up, man. We host events in crypto voxels, Decentralized. We've been in Arium spaces, a whole monoverse. We were just there like a couple weeks ago to check out Metageist's new spot over there. So the WIP has become like sort of a big production, man. We have a lot of people, several hundred people come through each week now. So we have like a pre-WIP thing, and then we have like the speaker panel, and we go to a different location or a field trip or take like a tour of a virtual art gallery, and give away a bunch of shit. And
Awesome.
it's experimental Web3 stuff.
Where can people find this if they want to join? If they want to find out when the events are, is there like a website or Twitter page or something?
Yeah, at the WIP Meetup, THEWIP Meetup, MEETUP, on Twitter. You can, if you follow my handle on Twitter at NFT Land, I'm also kicking out tweets around event time just to sort of let everybody know. But everything's routed through Discord, so it's like it can be as heavy or as lightweight in terms of like a user experience as you want. If you just want to like lurk and listen on your phone, you can basically hear the entire speaker panel and the entire course of the event. But the fun part for me, man, is exploring like these weird like virtual worlds. And there's like so many talented builders out there who've like built all these like strange things that it's kind of cool to like have the WIP sort of be like homeless in the sense that, it's sort of like a traveling circus, man. We just show up to a different spot each week.
I think that's interesting, yeah, because normally with whatever I've seen so far, it's always been in some kind of, the same spot. Like, we have a gallery in Crypto Voxel, so obviously we're used to having the events in one place. But it's cool to hear that you have something that travels around and can adapt to whatever it goes to. Almost kind of like a physical
host an
thing.
event. DM me the link to your spot afterwards, man. We should talk. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, man, we're going different places all the time, and it's cool to just hang out with different people doing cool stuff, man. So that's sort of like the spirit of the WIP, man. It's like let's just all have fun and check out cool stuff that cool people are doing.
That'd be amazing, man. I haven't had much experience with it as well. I've only been on crypto voxels myself, and even there I haven't been, that prolific. So it'd be very interesting. I'd like to ask you a few questions about some general questions about maybe decentralization, blockchain, and NFTs, if you're okay with that.
Of course, man.
So firstly, what does decentralization mean to you?
Oh man, it's a big question, man. I feel like we don't like all of us don't really fully know like the long-term ramifications of decentralization. I think I guess my attitude is like there's almost like no stopping it. There's like going to be good things and bad things about things becoming decentralized, but I really feel like it's the inevitable course of events for a lot of industries out there. And so I guess if I'm trying to define it in like some broad way, man, I feel like decentralization is sort of like, the flattening of the curve of opportunities for people to like participate in anything really, man. When the technology is mainstream enough that like anyone in any country can spin up their own like currency, NFT project, and deal like direct to, their consumers, directly to their audience. Like, I feel like the whole world changes, and the technology is still so like, we're still like so, I know it's so cliche to say we're so early, but like seriously, like nothing really works that well, like still in Web3. But when it does, it's going to be such a powerful tool that will empower so many people around the world who haven't had access to like the global economy. And conversely, I think it's going to like really screw up a lot of like big corporations who have historically like had like a tight grip on all of the
Yep.
you know, the money and sort of power out there.
That's what we want, though, isn't it?
That's what I want, man.
Right.
That's why I'm here, dude. That's
Yep.
like why I got so interested in crypto in the first place, because I was like, you know, man, if this cat sort of gets out of the bag before it's like crushed by the government or something
Yep.
like that, like it has really powerful implications. And I feel like, you know, they waited too long, man. Like maybe they could have crushed this in some way had you know, it been taken seriously early on. But it seems like even until like a year ago, man, everyone felt like it was a joke or like a fad or like something that would fizzle out. And, you know, you had all like the people who had been around here, you know, long enough, been, you know, with, you know, their minds exploding with like the implications of this technology and like where we could go with this. So, but I feel like it's going to happen now, man. It seems like the cat's out of the bag, and it is like going to be, we're sort of like at a weird transition point where these like big conglomerates are trying to like either like distance themselves from the technology or like adopt it in some way that like benefits them, but they like don't really get it. And I don't know, man, it's fascinating times.
For sure, for sure. And it's interesting to see as well, like being part of this community, you know, how long it's taken. Because I mean, even from the inside, seeing, you know, a lot of companies and a lot of movements in the Web3 scene, we're still, you know, experimenting and trying things. And it's not like concrete, oh, this is done, or, you know, this is the way it's done. We're still coming up with new strategies. Even at Rare Candy, you know, it's a trial and error kind of thing. Um, of course, our thing has to do more with art and NFTs, but it's still powered by crypto technology and blockchain and everything. I mean, look how long NFTs as a contract, like smart contracts, how long it took for us to realize we can actually do that, right?
Yeah.
Because before that, it didn't exist. So why do you think there's, you know, so much fuzz about decentralization and you know what you said basically?
Dude, I mean, I feel like people don't know that they want it in a lot of ways. And I think when you get a bird's eye view of it, it's like, you know, it's a very disruptive like technology. It means like a lot of things are going to change, you know, and I feel like people in general don't like change. And I also feel like a lot of these big corporations and companies and media outlets have done like a really good job of convincing us that we need them, or that they are like, you know, important to us for some reason. And you know, some of these, I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of like cool companies out there. I'm not trying to like just, you know, shit on companies in general, but I also think that it doesn't make sense to, well, what am I trying to say? A lot of them have done a really good job of like creating brand loyalty. Like you see like so many people out there being like diehard loyal to companies that like don't give a shit about them like at all. And you know what I mean? But they like rep their logo, they, you know, or they like, you know, consume all of their media and it's just like a really strange dynamic to think like, you know, just, you know, a handful of like really powerful companies out there have been able to create this brand loyalty. But I think it fizzles out, man. I feel like the more people like realize like, you know, I could buy this, you know, $90 pair of shoes from like a, you know, old, you know, Web2 company, or I could get a $90 pair of shoes from like an independent creator that's been like, you know, has some art on it, or is like, you know, made with some sort of like love, and you know, you're like supporting the, you know, actual creator in some, instead of like some sort of like massive conglomerate. So I'm sure there's going to be like some sort of middle ground where they're like, you know, middlemen and companies who are able to like harness Web3 in a way that you know, can sort of toe the line.
Right.
But you know, I love art, man. And that was one of the things I really loved about NFTs when it came out, is like, dude, I could just like get art. I can just like, you know, it doesn't even matter where they are in the world. I want that art from like, you know, lady in Indonesia, sweet. I can just boop, like one transaction. I don't have to like deal with any shit.
Right.
Um,
And I think ownership is going to be a big role, going to play a big role in the future, especially for creators and artists. And it's wonderful to see, especially with an artist background, creating these opportunities and these freedoms for people to do it themselves. And at the same time, like you said, the conglomerates and what's going on in the world right now, and they're trying to desperately hang on to this old model that it just, for me, doesn't work, right? And to have a whole nother scene where the completely opposite thing is happening, and we're giving the freedom to people to do what they want and to power their own business, their own art, their own whatever it is they want to do.
yeah, dude, it's been amazing to watch. I was just, like thinking about this recently, man. I feel like a lot of the beginning of the scene was like very like punk rock. I mean, crypto like always sort of has been, had this like punk rock vibe, like we're gonna overthrow some shit, like it's just like the inevitable way that this is going down. And it's funny, man, there's a lot of like people who were in the NFT scene early on who have that vibe, who like made a shitload of money and now sort of have like fuck you money and can like lead that charge without having to worry about like am I going to sell my next piece of art to so I can put food on the table type of thing. Like the movement like very early on empowered a lot of people who like really believe in decentralization and just sort of like leveling the playing field. And the nature of the blockchain is really interesting, man, because you can't like sort of stomp it out or like co-opt the movement in any like really significant way, because there's always the blockchain's history to like look back on if anyone's like really wants to dive into it. Right. And I feel like that's really fascinating, man. I mean, because we all know like throughout the course of humanity, like history gets sort of like whitewashed, and like what's the saying is like history is always written by the winners of the or some shit like that. The victors always write the history or something like that. And we lose a lot of stuff. And you think about like punk rock, hip hop, all these things that started out of these like awesome like grassroots like movements that have I mean, there's still a lot of that out there within those scenes, but a lot of it has just been like mainstream to death. And I don't know that that works with this, because one of the things I love, man, is I feel like a lot of these like celebrities and companies like are trying to get into the NFT scene and are like really, really struggling. Whereas like a lot of artists and creators who have been around for a while are like still getting like a lot of the respect that they deserve. And that like gives me hope, honestly.
Yeah, something I've noticed as well about this scene is that it can be beautiful in the sense of you can be a part of something that's unique. Like you said, for me as well, it's the first time that I feel part of a community which embraces all of the things that I stand for, really. Which was wonderful to see. But at the same time, it can be ruthless. Like if you are just going in it for the money, if people sniff you out that you're not really who you say you are, if you're not genuine, then they'll kick you out. Like there's no, coming back from it. Like one tweet can make you, one tweet can break you. Right.
Yeah.
So do you think that this kind of decentralization and the way you see it and this kind of punk rock and the things you're saying, do you think it's going to look the same, say, in 10 years?
Dude, it is anybody's guess. I feel like we don't really know, like we almost can't even really predict like how this plays out even farther than like a couple years down the line. I mean, dude, 2021 was like such a whirlwind of like mass adoption on like some crazy scale that like I think anyone who had been in the scene for a while would have like never predicted the crazy run up, especially because of what I was saying before, man. Like I think for so long the conversation was like, how do we get this technology working smooth enough that it's ready for mainstream adoption? And then it just like happened, like without that part even happening in the first place.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I didn't see it getting to this point. I honestly, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I may have to like take a hard pass on this question with the caveat that you don't know what you don't know, man. And I think one of the most exciting things about being in this scene is that like new wild shit is like constantly unfolding, and it sort of stacks like Legos, right? It's like, you know, someone figures out how to do something really cool, and then like a bunch of other people figure out how to like build on that concept, and like, you know, it just sort of keeps going, which is why I'm like, you know, very passionate about like open source and like CCO and people being able to like share ideas without having to worry about getting like DCMA'd or like, you know, copyright infringement. Cause I feel like this is like a big like boom of creativity and innovation, and you know, it's our job as creators to like not stifle this. Like this is, you know, in my opinion, you know, I feel like decentralization is like net positive for like, you know, all of humanity. So it's, you know, it's our job to keep pushing that in the right direction.
Right. So if somebody was to ask you decentralized versus centralized, my guess would be that you'd say decentralized for sure. But do you see any sort of benefit with centralization?
Yeah, man, it's funny to see like some of these DAOs that are like so decentralized that they can get like nothing done at all. So you know, it's just like everybody's got to vote, but nobody knows where anybody is to like get them to vote, or like nobody's participating, or like, you know,
Right.
so yeah, man, I feel like, you know, there are going to be some things that probably make sense to be like completely, you know, flatlined and like, you know, decentralized, but with certain things, you know, I feel like you need someone steering the ship, or like at least, you know, maybe not even steering it, but like guiding it in order to like get things accomplished, and so, you know, yeah, and I don't know if that like necessarily represents true decentralization. And honestly, man, there are probably like situations and things out there where like centralization is like just fine. Like, you know, some people know better about certain things than other people, and I do believe in like deferring to the experts. Like, you know, if I'm in like the, you know, DAO of like how to decide how to cure cancer, I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about this. I shouldn't be voting on this shit. Like,
Right.
you know, give my vote to the right person. So I think just everything moves more like in that direction. So there's just like a big, you know, shift in that direction, rather than like everything ends up like totally flat. I think, you know, that's borderline like anarchy, and I feel like we've tried that before. It doesn't always like shake out very well.
Right. I mean, yeah, there was a point where it could have went complete anarchy about, you know, a couple of years ago. I was expecting it maybe to, but at the same time, obviously I didn't want it to. But it's kind of nice to see now things are kind of balancing out, and both centralization and decentralization infrastructures I can see start to merge. And like you said before, some things are being implemented from both sides. And we touched a bit about this before, but how do you think the kind of corporate elite, or, you know, the current status quo will deal with this merger and with decentralization becoming more and more engraved in what we do?
Dude, that's a good question, man. And I honestly can't wait to see it play out. I feel like every time I see like, you know, some of these big corporations enter the space in like such a bafflingly like bad way, it sort of reaffirms that like the people who've been around here are like really the experts about like what's going on around here. And so I think, you know, Jack Dorsey is like an interesting dude. You know, I don't like necessarily agree with all of his views on crypto, but like he's someone who's like clearly like in it enough to like have done some homework, know what's going on, probably like pivot into some sort of like successful like corporation or company that, you know, involves crypto. And, you know, he's an example of someone who's been like out here and paying attention. And so I feel like there are certainly going to be corporations and corporate elites who like can pivot wisely. But honestly, man, I feel like 95% of them still don't get it. They sort of see like NFTs as like, you know, they as a new way to sell like a digital t-shirt or something, as like a commodity, and aren't really trying to take the time to understand it. Facebook's like whole meta thing is like astounding, man. They, you know, they have this like gigantic team of people like putting together this like product that like nobody seems to want at all. And it's it's just very, very strange. So it's exciting for me personally to sort of like sit back and watch what appears to be like really desperate like attempts to try and stay relevant in like a Web3 world. But
I'm still trying to
I feel like,
understand.
was that?
No, I'm just saying I'm still trying to understand exactly what they're trying to do with Meta, because they've said so many things, they've shown so many things, but is it going to be this kind of ultimate bridge of all the metaverses, because that's what they're supposed to be doing, right? But I'm not sure. Like, I see one thing, then I see something else, then I see another piece of news, then I see something else. So I don't know.
Yeah, man. I, I think they like, from an outsider's perspective, I feel like the metaverse equals you're in virtual reality. Like that's what an outsider views the metaverse as. When I feel like we're like essentially in it like right now, right? Like I feel like the metaverse is sort of like everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and the whole point is like interoperability, that it doesn't really matter like where you are or whatever. We're like all sort of like in the metaverse. And so so the job of like building out platforms is exactly what you just said. Like let's make things that talk to everything else, so we can all like communicate in whatever capacity or platform or place or whatever that we're all comfortable with. So it'll be fascinating to see if they like get it right. But I don't know, man. Everyone keeps saying like VR is like the next big thing, but I really feel like don't get me wrong, man, I love VR and AR. It's like fascinating stuff, especially when you like roll art into the equation. But I just feel like there's no way it can scale like globally compared to how like what we know as like the metaverse can scale globally. Like to me, I'm like, dude, we have like big ass events in Discord. You can access them on your phone. You can like token gate it or like drop tokens on people, incorporate like Web3. And so I'm like, Discord, in my opinion, has done more to like farther the concept of the metaverse than any like VR, AR, or even like blockchain based platform, just because it's so lightweight and accessible to like anyone around the world. And you can do like a whole bunch of cool Web3 stuff on it as well. So I don't know, man. That's why it's baffling to me. I feel like they missed the boat. It's like you're going for like mass adoption. Like that's one of the reasons why Facebook was really good, because they could just like ram that shit down people's throats like all the way around the world, with it being like a pretty lightweight program to like hand to people. But you can't do that with virtual reality, like obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting to see massive corporations and businesses that have a lot of money, a lot of people underneath them, and they still don't grasp or, present an end product, and that's like up to par with something that has maybe a tenth of, the revenue that they have, or the money to put into something, or maybe 1% of the people, as staff. So it's, I think, all about embracing the technology and understanding it and actually paying respect to it. That's the way that I see it. So from you, what do you see in this technology? Why are you involved with this technology?
Dude, I feel like it's really fun. I've always been fascinated by crypto in general, man. And honestly, it's just like super fun for me. I feel like every day innovation happens, like interesting stuff is going on. And it really like combined a lot of my like things that I really love, like sort of came together with like NFTs. I'm like, fascinated with like blockchain and decentralization, math. I love, but also I, collect art, before this, not in any like great way, but I like, see some cool art at like a, event or something. And, I like art and stuff. And so, this sort of like bridge of like innovation and creativity and art and blockchain and everything is just so fun, man. We've been doing, Matt and I have been running the WIP, and we've been doing a podcast together for about the same amount of time, a little over 2 years, on a weekly basis, just like this, man, just interviewing like, cool people who are doing cool things in the space. And neither of us are making money off of like any of this stuff. We've just been doing it because we just, are dorks, man, just like love this stuff. And it's fascinating, man. I feel like this is where like the, Thomas Edison's and Telsa's and Benjamin Franklin's of our generation are like all hanging out and
Right.
and working on like the most innovative stuff for humanity. So I don't know, that's cool, man. That's where I want to hang out with those folks.
A random question. You just said about, your collections and stuff. When did you buy your first NFT? I'm curious.
It's sometime within 2019, I would guess. It was a gift. I still remember. I didn't even know what it was, and someone on an old platform called Cent, which is still out there, but it's like it sort of changed faces a few times. Someone on there early on, I think it could have been 2018. I sort of missed the Crypto Kitties boat a little bit because I didn't get it at all. I was like, this is dumb. Like, I don't understand why anyone would want to breed these cats. And then I ended up owning a bunch of them anyway and like totally understood. So, so I was like watching from a distance, but then the artist scene sort of came up and this dude was like, I'll make you an NFT. Tell me what you want to draw. This is, I'm just tinkering around with this. And I was like, all right, draw a giant friendly potato. And so he just drew this like crude, like, cartoon potato. And it says like Rizzle underneath of it or like giant friendly potato Rizzle or something. And he sent it to me. And I still have it, man. That, stuff like that is why I love NFTs. Like that's like a priceless like thing in my life now that, it would be so stupid, man. Like someone could offer me like, $500,000 for this giant friendly potato. And I'd be like, dude, like, I don't know. I gotta like, think about it for a minute. It's like, my giant friendly potato. I would have never like, come this far had it not been for that potato.
It's like emotionally attached to it, right? Almost like a physical item now. It's become part of you and it has a certain
Yeah,
memory.
100%, man.
Have you released any of your own NFTs?
Sort of. I've given a lot of like goofy things away that like goofy Rizzle NFTs away. So like, oh man, there's like a bunch of stupid shit. So me and Frankie Needles started like the first Decentralized firefighters unit, and for like no reason, man. Obviously there's no fires in Decentralized, but my avatar has always worn like a firefighter hat. So we gave away like I think 100 Decentralized firefighter hats on Twitter for anyone who like said that they would uphold the oath of the Decentralized firefighters or some shit like that, just
Nice.
dumb shit. And so
Nice.
and they were all in Polygon, man. And Frankie made them, so I just sent them out for free. And then there's like this whole goofy lore in CryptoVoxels of like the Rizzle block, which goes back like a couple years now. I was gifted a plot. I put down one block. And I couldn't even get it up. I was like, fuck this. I'm like so annoyed. Like someone please help me build my place. And Brookhawk came out of nowhere. And, we decided to like preserve the Rizzle block. And so he like, made my apartment for me in CryptoVoxels, but like preserved the one block that I've like ever put down in CryptoVoxels. And
Wow.
so then this past year for my birthday, he actually made a whole bunch of like Rizzle block replicas just in the spirit of being like really stupid. So it's literally just like a square block and it says like Rizzle block on it. And so everyone who showed up to my birthday party got a commemorative replica, officially licensed replica Rizzle block.
Nice.
But in terms of like actual art, man, I mean, I don't know, maybe you could like argue that that's art, but I don't like
Of course it's
I'm
art.
not
I
an
mean,
artist
Supreme
in the traditional sense.
Supreme brought out a brick and had Supreme on it. That's supposed to be art, right? So why can't your one be art?
Sure, man. Yeah, we could call it like performance art or something like that. But yeah, in terms of like traditional art or conventional art, I've done a few like charity things where I've like crudely drawn up a shirt on CryptoVoxels where some of the proceeds went to good fund or something. I try and do stuff like that, but I have an art blocks drop coming up that I'm like really excited about that I would have never trusted myself to do the art for. So I got Miguel Garesta. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's one of my favorites in the space. And I don't know, man. I've done a lot of things. There are a lot of like Rizzle NFTs out there in some form or fashion, but I don't like make art to sell it. I'm more just like fucking around and just sending fireman hats to people to put out fake fires in Decentralized.
That's the best art, man. That's always the best art. So where do you think this kind of NFT think it's going to go in the future in terms of what do you think an NFT will look like in the future? Can you envision it, or do you think it's going to stay the same?
No, man, I feel like the term NFT is going to get like chopped up eventually, because there are just so many different applications for the technology. We're like so heavy into like art, and I feel like the next thing is music, but like smart contracts enable like so much shit. It's like so crazy. You can see, eventually this will get rolled into like automobiles and like in real life, like, and gated entry to places. And, there's just so many like implications of like how the blockchain can help like so many industries. And like, the NFT like attached to it, it doesn't even have to look like what most people think of an NFT. I feel like if you say NFT to like a regular person, they immediately think like Bored Ape or like just some sort of like profile picture. But I feel like they're game changers, man. They're sort of like the Trojan horse to like getting blockchain incorporated into like mainstream society and everything now. But I think people are gonna get like really sick of them, man. I think almost every time you purchase something like down the road, you're probably gonna get an NFT with it in some form or fashion, because why wouldn't you? If you're a company or a corporation or someone selling like even like a physical product, to be able to offer an NFT alongside of it. If I had given a choice of two of the exact same things, but one comes with an NFT, like, of course, I'm going to choose the one with the NFT.
Right.
And then, then it's like game on. How do these companies, how do these individuals who are attaching the NFTs to like the physical things, like then, demonstrate value with those or use them to, I don't know, man. There's just so many like fascinating things. It's crazy, man, because early on when Matt and I started doing the podcast, there was like just enough going on in the NFT scene that we could like almost cover the whole thing in like a week. It's like now, now just the stuff that happens in one day, you would need like a month worth of like, podcasts and episodes to cover. There's just so much crazy stuff going on.
Right. Now
But
you have
it's cool, man. So I think, yeah.
Sorry, now I'm just saying,
That?
now you have big corporations like Nike, Louis Vuitton trying to get into the space, and taking advantage of it, which is great to see. I think it will be a really nice thing to see when Happy Meals have NFTs as toys instead of little plastic toys.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point that you bring up. And I feel like a lot of uh, things like that are what the environmentalists who are like so anti NFT like don't take into consideration of like, sure, there's like some energy that goes into like, mining Bitcoin, mining Ethereum, creating an NFT, like that kind of thing. But like, if you zoom out, like the broad implications of this technology is that it gets rid of like so many like wasteful, like horrible, like processes, products, all that kind of thing. So, I think it's a big net positive, but I don't know, man, the conspiracy theorist in me feels like that's a narrative being pushed on people by, I don't know, man, maybe like, companies who do feel threatened or who like want this stuff squashed. Cause
You're
I feel
talking
like
about
it
like
really
the
doesn't make like a
environmental,
whole lot of sense when you like scratch beneath the surface.
you're talking about like the environmental impact of it?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm with you. I'm kind of the same. I mean, if you even look at YouTube, right? Look at the electricity and all the power that it takes just to run whoever's watching this video on YouTube, right? Um, I think the benefit that we're going to have from decentralization and the benefit of the blockchain, all this technology, outweighs all that kind of stuff. Even if it was the way they say it is, which for me, I don't believe it's anywhere near to that extent. I think the benefits outweigh the negatives by far.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I feel like, honestly, I feel like we're going to find out one way or the other, but I do feel like as time goes on, that's going to become like more and more apparent to people, and that narrative will sort of like fizzle out. At least I would like to think so. There's just like so many other, it's so crazy, man. The like passion amongst the like anti NFT crowd is like, there's like so many bigger problems in the world. Like, even if you like don't like NFTs or like, you know, think it is like not that good for the environment, it's like, dude, there's so many things that are worse for the environment. Like, what? Like,
Right.
I don't know. It's just so baffling to me.
A lot of things are baffling to me, to be honest. um, I want to talk to you about a little bit about what you're doing now. Like, what are you focusing on now? Are you focusing on WIP? What's the current project? What is your future goals for maybe say the next, 2-3 years?
Sure, man. Yeah, so I have my hand in like a few different projects right now. I'm working closely with the Fly Frogs, which is a profile picture project that I'm just like having a lot of fun with. Honestly, I LARP as a frog sometimes on Twitter, and they're like a super fun community, and so I plan on like staying involved with them. I'm very fortunate, man. Like at this point, like I've been around long enough that I really get to like pick and choose like what I want to work on and who I want to work with. So I'm like just doing like fun stuff, man. I'm going to continue doing the WIP and the podcast with Matt. We just signed a partnership. Well, we didn't sign anything, but recognize a partnership with Meme Explorers they're going to be supporting the WIP, and so that's getting routed through their Discord. And so we're talking with them about how to continue to grow the event and like build upon what we're already doing, which is exciting because it's like, just a fun, weird thing we've always done for fun as well. I got this art blocks drop coming up, which is my brainchild. So again, if that's art, then I'm not the actual artist on it, but it is my concept and I'm really, really excited about it. Let's see, man. There's a bunch of other things. I'm constantly doing like, Twitter spaces, stuff like this. This is fun, man. I like just sort of being out here, talking about NFTs and learning from other people who are doing cool things. I'm speaking at VCon in May. They asked me to come speak and said they'd like, pay for me to come out there and stuff. I'm like, all right, I'll go do that thing.
Sure.
I'm talking with Rare Gotchi. I don't know if you're familiar with Rare Gotchi. They haven't released yet, but their team is the Crypto Motors Voxel Architects squad, who I go way back with. I've done several projects with them, and so I'm talking with them about like doing something with their Rare Gotchis, because they're like in real life Tamagotchis, but like they also like go into Sandbox or something like that. And I was like,
Wow.
dude, I want to like just play with one of those things, like, just to play with it. So, getting me involved in the project is easy, man. That sounds like something I would do for fun anyway. So I don't know, I'm keeping it open, man. I try to like, sign up for some stuff that I would really enjoy doing, but also leave some windows open for other stuff that comes up, and I'm just sort of rolling with it, man. I'm trying, honestly, dude, like trying to use my platform, both on the podcast that I do and on the WIP, to continue to give voices to people who, need a platform or who deserve to be heard, has been very important to me. And I feel like the larger our audience grows and my personal audience grows, the more we have like a responsibility, and the space is now becoming much more diverse than it was historically as well.
Right.
Before there was only like 10 of us or something, it felt like. So I feel very fortunate to be in that position, and am trying to use that as a way to further like what I consider like the good ethos of crypto and decentralization, and extending opportunities and giving platforms to people who haven't necessarily always had those opportunities.
Right. And I think that's the only way for it to be adopted by the masses, right? If people see what's capable, and they see people in the scene doing it well, then that's for me the only way, to be adopted and to actually go to the next level as well. So I think it's wonderful what you're doing, and I'm very curious, and I want to see some of your events, and I want to come to them. I want to talk to you about maybe some challenges or obstacles that you faced doing these projects and how you kind of overcame them.
Oh, dude. Well, so we were talking about it earlier, man. Like the funny thing about Web3 is that nothing really works very well. And so when you're like trying to pull off virtual events that like hinge on Web3, there's like so many things that can go wrong. It's funny. very early on in the WIP days, we were doing a podcast on Token Smart that was essentially just talking about like the WIP and our like struggles trying to launch these events. And like very early on, it was almost like a joke, man. It was like, let's just see how many people we can pile into crypto voxels, because we know it's just going to break and nothing's going to work and nobody's going to be able to hear the speakers. And part of it was like kind of fun, but then we started getting like some big speakers on, and then, so like, you know, then they show up and like nothing works, and it's like sort of mortifying because you're like, oh my god, all these people are here to like listen to you, and like this is our production and nothing's going right. So I feel like the thing that all of us learned very early on is that you've got to be like really flexible and adaptable to whatever's working or not working in this space. And it really is like a roll with the punches, like, you know, strike while the iron's hot. Like when everything's working, you know, you got to sort of rally the troops and get everyone to do the thing. When everything's not working, you got to be able to pivot or have like some sort of like backup plan, just in terms of like executing these events and everything, which was a big focus for a long time. And so now we've got the process like pretty streamlined, but I feel like, you know, we're on, all of us, man, are in such like uncharted territory on like the bleeding edge of technology that there's really no like predefined path or like right way to go about things. Like everyone's just sort of like throwing, you know, stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
Right.
And so I think that's like the biggest thing is just being like adaptable, you know, being open to alternative ideas and solutions that didn't exist 20 minutes before and might be like exactly what you needed. But that's what's fun, man. Sort of like the cool, you know, unpredictable innovation / brokenness of like the whole thing.
Right. I don't really have anything else from my side. I've learned so much, to be honest. And I just want to dive in and see exactly what it is you do and go onto these platforms. Maybe just give you the space to leave a few last thoughts, or maybe what you're going to do in the future, or plug something that you want to plug.
Sure, man. Check out the Matt and Rizzle show. That's our podcast. We record pretty much on a weekly basis. The WIP Meetup at the WIP, WIP, on Twitter. It happens every Thursday at 3:00. We've taken a handful of breaks over the past like 3 years. It's super weird and fun, and you don't need to know anything about crypto, but we give away a bunch of NFTs and have like contests and stuff. We're on season like 5 dog F or something, just to give you an example of like how not seriously we take this thing. You know, we usually got some music going on in the beginning or some sort of like pre-party thing. So it's fun, man. It's a good crowd of like regular people who show up, plus a bunch of new people. Yeah, it's cool. Check out the fly frogs if you're into profile pictures. Some people hate them, some people love them. I wasn't originally affiliated with the frogs. I just liked how the frogs looked, and I was like, yo, these are really weird and funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. And I guess just follow me on Twitter to be up on like all my weird antics at NFT Land. And yeah, man, appreciate you having me on, dude. This is fun.
Sweet. I'm going to have all your links, everything linked underneath, and all your projects that you're currently working on. And if you have your Discord and everything, thank you for coming here and being the first guest and taking the time. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. You can join our Discord if you're interested in all these Web3 topics. If you want to learn, educate yourself, you can follow us on Instagram, RareCandy3D. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.